Good evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and the name of this show is Let's Live with Thurman Greco. And this is a very, very unique show that we have got coming. And of course, all of them are unique. They're all live, they're all individual, but I don't think we'll ever pull this stunt again. We've got 4 of us at a table that's guaranteed to be perfect for 2. We have got a guest that we have been chasing for at least 6 months, if not longer. And Olga would not have come if there hadn't been all 4 of us. And so we're just breaking all the rules tonight. And one of the reasons that we are doing this is because we are with the John Mower Saturday, Sunday Woodstock Flea Market in Woodstock, New York. And this flea market has been going, how many, 49 years? 47 years. And we've been running a series of people who have booths. And it's very interesting that vendors who have booths do not consider themselves good candidates for educational TV or YouTube or anything else beyond what's happening. But we do have, you can see that our table has many, many wonderful things, and we've got some old friends and some new friends here today. We have got Gary, who has pictures and who has Christmas ornaments and the peace symbols. You know, this is becoming kind of like maybe a symbol for the flea market. It's like, doesn't everybody have one now?
Janine put some up on the Facebook page a couple of weeks ago, and there was a woman that came in, and she was looking just for the booth with the peace sign. She says, "Oh, I seen them on the Facebook page, and my husband spotted your booth," and he said, "Yeah, the guy's right over there," and she came over and bought some. So yeah. It's nice when Janine posts all of her stuff up on the Facebook page too.
Yes.
The people do come in looking for our merchandise.
And we're open for a few more weeks. We're going to close at the end of October. And people traditionally like to come to the flea and do their Christmas shopping. And this year, we're going to do our Christmas shopping for the next 2 or 3 weeks because that's all we've got left. So this is Gary. Now, Gary has been here several times and is one, if not the most popular guest that this show has, because everybody, when they find out Gary's going to be on the air, they run to their TV shows and they run to their YouTube channels and they start watching. They love having Gary. We're very fortunate to have Gary. Now we have Suzanne, who is really, I think when we come down to it, you've got a lot of stones and things, but honestly, it's the the aroma that really captures people. It really is.
Yeah, it's a combination. It's the whole booth.
I know, but there are a lot of booths we buy with our eyes. Yeah. But very few booths attract the nose.
That's very true.
You know, yes. and there's a lot. How many? What? 4 dozen different flavors?
I'm discontinuing a couple, adding a few more, but the average number it's right now at about 80.
Oh, 80?
80 varieties.
And I thought 40 was outrageous.
Yeah.
I just didn't know.
My goal is to do 100.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you are working toward that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a nice round number and, kind of a goal that I personally have.
Well, but these things are important because if you've got the only booth that is capturing someone's olfactory senses, then you have to have a few flavors.
Just a few. Well, everyone has a preference. Some people like earthy, florals, bakery. It's a combination of like what your personal flavor is and what does it for you in aromatherapy. Yeah. And it's different for everybody.
Right. So you can't just go by with 2 or 3.
Yes.
And then we have a lady that has had a booth. How many years have you had a booth, Olga?
I think it's my 9th
9 years. 9 years. And we finally have gotten Olga to join us here at our table. And of course, one of the things, Olga is right across from Suzanne, and she's right across from Gary, and Olga does ceramics. Olga, how did you get started in ceramics? What happened?
Actually, I was gonna do glass blowing. I learned ceramics at SUNY New Paltz, but before that, I got into Cleveland Institute of Art in Ohio, where we lived with my husband back then, and I was gonna major in glass blowing, but then he got a job here in upstate New York, and we had to move, and I transferred to New Paltz, SUNY New Paltz, and they did not have glass blowing, so I felt that that was the closest thing.
Ceramics was the closest thing to glass blowing.
I felt that way. So,
well, so if this is what you're doing, how many years have you been doing this?
Probably 15, maybe. Well, I make different stuff every time. I change. I switch from one style to another one, so it's not like I'm developing this particular style all those 15 years. But yeah, in general, I'm doing ceramics. I'm selling ceramics, making and selling for about 15 years.
Do you do other things at home? I mean, other than ceramics, do you do other things, or is this your chosen path for now?
Children and house. Children and house. Well, I have, now that my children are all got into college, my youngest one just started her college. I have some plans to, I'm not going to share them yet.
Okay.
But I'm going to do something else besides this.
Besides the ceramics?
Yep.
She also does beautiful jewelry.
Yeah, already. We already got into that. Well, tell me, when you went to the flea market, and you started going to the flea market, was your intention to do ceramics? Was that your intention?
Yeah, I started making and selling ceramics before I got to the flea market, to Mowers Flea Market. I used to go to shows and craft fairs, and then somebody told me, why don't you try to do it at the flea market? And first I was kind of upset that they were thinking of me, that in my experience, like where I grew up, flea markets were not for any kind of art. So I got upset with that person, did not tell him anything, of course. But then I visited there, and decided that why not. And since then I'm there, and this is the favorite place for me to sell. Actually, right now this is the only place where I sell my work.
If this is where you sell your work, then this is your career for the last 10 or 15 years. How many hours a week do you put into this?
When the season starts, it's overtime. Do I say it right?
Yes. Oh, yes. We got it.
Yeah, because if you count all the time that you make stuff, and then spend at the flea market, and it's more than 8 hours
and
a day.
You make your own molds too.
I cast my ceramics, my bowls, and I make my own molds, which also a lot of work, and I don't like that work. I like using them and creating pieces, but preparing, you do probably about 70% of work that you don't like, and then only 30, maybe even less, is what you really enjoy.
Meaning that you do a task that you don't like to do?
Yeah,
or meaning that you don't like the way something looks?
No, the task that I like to do, and then I'm happy with that. I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it. I think this is all of us, every one of us is doing something like that in their life. we do a lot of things that we don't like in order to be happy and enjoy what we've achieved.
Well, let me ask you guys something. She's brought up a very, very interesting thing that I never even thought about, because the flea closes and we go home and the first thing we do is think about what are we going to have next year. Is that true?
Well, for me and Gary, it's going to be what are we doing for the holidays? Because we both contribute to the Woodstock Historical Society's holiday gift shop. And so once the market closes, we're going to be thinking about what are we going to put in that venue. And then we'll start thinking about the new year.
And I actually got two things going the same day. The Historical Society and then the Wallkill River Center for the Arts is running a holiday craft fair down by me, and they both fall on the same day.
What are you going to do?
Well, luckily I don't have to be at the Historical Society. We put the stuff in and they sell it for us. So
yes.
I got both things covered.
So you don't have to bilocate?
No, but I do have to make sure I have enough inventory to cover two spaces at the same time on the same day.
Well, now you have a series of things, but each year do you try to add products? How do you try to change your booth, or do you try to change your booth?
I try to bring something new in every season.
I try to, I mean, obviously the incense is a staple.
Well, you're adding 20 new flavors.
Yes, and discontinuing a couple, but once the inventory stabilizes as to, we get the final cut of what everyone likes. Apparently, emerald seagrass was not high on everyone's list, so that's going to go away. And unfortunately, China Rain, which was very popular, my oil distiller discontinued one of the ingredients, and it cannot be replaced. So I'll experiment with some new flavors, and if people like the aromas, I'll keep them. But if the sticks are starting to turn light brown in the jar and I'm not replacing them quite often, then I have to think of something else that would be more popular. That appeals to people.
What about the crowns?
I cannot keep them in stock. I can't. I mean, especially the quartz crowns. I'm actually almost finished with one. The last one I made, it was much more elaborate and it took a long time. And it was on the table for 15 minutes. And it was probably the most expensive crown I've sold. So.
Well, but do people really care how much they spend for the crowns?
If a person has disposable income, no, they don't.
Yeah, if you can.
If money, if you're fortunate enough.
Well, a crown is a very special thing.
Yeah.
You don't just buy a crown because it's cute. You buy it because you want a special gift for a person. So you're willing
for yourself.
You're willing to stretch.
More often, people are buying them for themselves. Not
really?
Yes, they are buying it for their personal experience of just feeling like a queen, or just having that pretty thing that makes them feel beautiful.
Really?
Yeah.
Has anybody ever bought one for a wedding?
Several. I've done several weddings. Yes. Those, when I do those crowns, I'm very adamant. They will have no say whatsoever. I'm just going to make them a crown based on, say, the color scheme of their jewelry or the bouquet, something that kind of ties in everything, ties it all together. And I have yet to have anyone not literally gush. I've had a couple of people cry. I made you cry.
Yes, yeah.
You know, it wasn't even a groan.
Well, and that was a surprise. That was a total surprise.
Yeah.
You know, but that was because that wand was talking.
Yeah.
And that's always surprising to me when a rock begins to talk.
Yeah.
And that was very surprising. So when you've been doing the ceramics now for almost 15 years, did you start off with bowls?
I think so. Yeah, actually I started off with bowls and I only made bowls. And it's a long story how it happened, but I do love bowls. As a kid, I had a very poor appetite, and that was the only thing to make me eat when my mom would put the food in the bowl. Did not even have to be pretty, just had to be bowl instead of regular plate.
Instead of plates.
So yeah, I guess I just have some.
Do you make plates?
I used to, but I don't really like making plates. But I used to make plates. Yes, and I just changed my not repertoire. How do you say it? There's a word.
Your inventory?
Inventory, yeah. I changed my inventory. I try this, try that. Sometimes it's due to whether people buy it or not, how popular it is, and sometimes just because I want to. And then I started with bowls, and then I started getting more ideas, and this is how. There's not even all that I'm making. It's just I brought some to share the variety of
well, you have a lot of bowls. You also have the jewelry. When did the jewelry become a part of your booth?
I think pretty recently, comparing to how long I'm doing that, and I love beads. I love buttons, like with these ones. Oh, not this one, this one, and other similar ones. I use buttons. Which I think I just started with buttons, and then
I started making buttons.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because one of the vendors asked me, or maybe I started, and then she asked me to make some for her, and then I made more, and then I started making jewelry. Because I used buttons, and then I started making beads and other stuff, and yeah, this is how it's all started.
Well, now what about the earrings?
I just wanted something to go with it. I feel like for people who wear earrings, especially that my jewelry is kind of little unusual, it's really hard to match it with something. So I felt that I need to make something that would go with it.
Okay.
With the necklace.
How do you come up with the colors?
Well, first of all, I love colors, and my first degree in Russia, back in Russia, was painting murals, interior murals, painting and murals. How do I say it?
Murals.
Painting and restoration. So I'm good with color. It comes. I don't think much. I just know I like this combination or that, or I try the different ones and I like it, and then try something else.
So, but you don't. When do you decide, and how do you decide to add a color or drop a color?
I don't decide, actually. It just comes to me. It's spontaneous. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be creative when you have to decide. It just comes, you do, and then you get more ideas. The more you do, the more you work on your stuff, the more ideas you get. Even when you make mistakes, they give you some ideas, and so this is how it goes.
So what you're saying is you may keep this shade of red for several years.
I may.
and or not, and then when you decide to change it, you decide to change it.
Yeah, but I change pretty often. I don't like doing the same thing over and over again, not only in art.
Gary, how do you work with color? How do you work with color?
Like Olga said, it kind of just comes naturally. You know what primary colors and secondary colors kind of go together anyway, being an artist, and you know, you put the colors down and they either work or they don't work, but you don't overthink it.
Yeah.
When you start overthinking things, that's when it really messes
Then
it
you
up.
ruin it.
Yeah.
And the glaze in some of these bowls are just exquisite.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
they're just beautiful.
The outsides are gorgeous, but so are the insides.
The insides are even more beautiful. And do you find that these are seasonal?
Not the shape and not the texture, but the colors, yes. I change as the season progresses. I change the colors that I use.
Because I can imagine that in the winter, having a bowl of cereal at breakfast is something that you may not do in the summertime, but in the winter you might do it.
You can use it for soup. It does not have to be only for cereal.
Ah, okay. And then you put the color on the inside, but then you have all these carvings on the outside. Each one of these bowls is different, and they're all handmade. So you can't come in and buy a dozen of these. You're going to buy a dozen bowls, and they're going to all be different. Is that correct?
Not really. I have like 5 for these bigger ones. I have 5 different outside designs. I cast them, so I make my own molds, and I carve into the mold so that I get this raised design when I cast.
So this is the carving?
Except for like, this is cast, but then I carve the bowl itself after I cast.
The border part, right?
Yeah, the border part. But first I carve the mold, but then I can use it like throughout the whole season. But after I cast, after I take the clay, it's not a bowl yet, not ready, out of the mold, some of them I also carve into the bowl.
And then you put them in a kiln, and you bake them. You put them in the oven and you bake them.
Twice.
Okay, I'm asking a question, and I hope I can make my question understood. When you put something in the oven, what are the primary things that you put in the oven, and then what things do you put in for filler? To make sure that your oven is full. Bowls are my most popular items that sell the best, and then if I have these masks or something smaller, I have more. These are filler
items. Yes,
those are filler.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the primary items that go in the oven.
They are more popular
but these are the
than
filler.
These, yeah.
Well, now you have on your table other things that are much bigger.
Yes.
Also, I have seen things that look like statuary.
I do make sculptures too, which I usually work on during off-season time, and I sell them too at the flea market. Actually, they used to sell pretty successfully.
But the market has changed.
And also the last year I had a tough year. I did not really make any new sculptural work, but I do that too.
So-
I sometimes even do, also I make a garden sculpture, which I used to bring last year.
Well, you had the totem pole.
Yeah, totem pole, yeah.
When you
Yeah,
make
that
a
was
totem
gorgeous.
pole, do they come inside in the winter, or do they stay outside in the
They
garden?
can
in the
stay
winter?
outside. I always test them after the season. If it's not sold, I always leave it outside at my house, and they survive winter very well.
Have you ever made bird baths?
No, I haven't. I don't. Yeah, I've seen them, but I don't know.
But you have not done so.
Yeah, I haven't.
It would be a bowl.
That's true, but it would be a big bowl. Actually, my kiln is not big enough to, make
It
that
doesn't have to
larger
be a big
one.
one. You could do like
A little bird bath,
Yeah,
a little bird bath.
Yeah, I have a little one in my garden, so yeah, you wouldn't have to do that.
What-
There's so many ideas that I can do, and
Kids
I
are
wish.
in college now.
I wish. Yeah, the kids are in college, and I still wish there were 48 hours a day, not 24.
What plans do we have for 2025?
To make more money.
Well, have you thought about how you're going to do that?
Come up with new ideas and figure out how to get more people coming into the market.
But you haven't thought about some things that you're going to make yet?
A lot of times the ideas just come like that, just out of the blue.
You just wait until the ideas present themselves.
Yeah, because sometimes if you sit and think,
This
you
is what
think,
artists
think,
do.
and just,
You can't
Yeah.
force it. It just has to come.
Yeah, and you have to think of
To
something very unique, like, Olga's jewelry is very unique. So you don't want to be putting something out there that everyone else has. So it's about brainstorming and finding that inspiration and turning it into something unique that people can't find somewhere else.
Do any of you three look around and say, hell, the market is coming to an end this season, I have to create something for the next season? Do you do? You do? What about you, Suzanne?
I shift into holiday mode, and then after the holidays, then it becomes like what is going to be out there for the next season that usually starts happening in January, where I start thinking about different styles, changing up things, maybe discontinuing something that isn't selling as well and introducing something else. So it's also trying to forecast the market and the demographic. Where this year we have an election year, so people are cautious with their money, and so there are things that I'm overstocked on, which I like. For example, I ended up with so many of these, and I'm finding the 50% off table is clearing out some of the overstocked merchandise, so I can turn it over into something different.
I did that this year too. I did a $5 table, just stuff that, I thought was going to sell good, and sometimes the stuff that you think is going to sell really good doesn't. And the stuff that you don't think, well, I don't know if that's going to sell.
All of a
A lot
sudden,
of times
it
that's the
just-
stuff that they like. So it's not your personal taste, it's what
Yeah,
the
definitely.
people coming in.
This
like.
is why it's hard to figure out anything. You just have to probably
Yeah.
do what you want to, what you enjoy, what you think is right, and then
So
You'll
what was your biggest
Well-
surprise of 2024?
As far as selling at the market.
Yeah.
Other than stuff that I thought was going to sell really good that didn't. I mean,
Well, I think that probably the biggest surprise was not necessarily a good surprise. It's, how down the economy and the market has been in regards to sales. And also, I think a shift in the demographic of Woodstock. You're having a lot of higher end people move in, and some of the more local people feeling like they're getting shoved out. And, you know, we even see it in the school district. It's a shrinking school district because families can't afford to stay here. And so many of the houses have become second homes or Airbnbs that so few people actually live here now. And it's changed the feel of the town, and I don't know if it's because of the economy or because how the home ownership has changed, but there seems to be different people coming to Woodstock. And some of them don't always appreciate the history of it. I mean, some of the younger people have no idea about the concert and how the town of Woodstock tied into it. So, you know, but we'll see next year. I'm hoping for a revival because it is still a place that holds a lot of people's hearts. And, you know, it's like Woodstock is someplace where people feel they can go, and it's like, it's more than a vacation. It's going to a place they love. And at the market, we try to keep it that way.
Well, we've got vendors now in the market that have been there for many, many years.
Very much so, yes.
But the clientele, for the most part, is brand new.
Some of it. We do have established customers. Those of us who've been there long enough, you know, we do see the same faces. People who do travel, you know, maybe once a year they'll take a day trip to Woodstock, and they're so happy to see us again. And, you know, they've come so many times over the years, we start to recognize them.
You know, that's true. There was one family that had a booth that went to Vermont several years ago. They went before the pandemic, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He had clients that came to see him year after year after year.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether he has a market in Vermont or not, but
The cast iron.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe he still.
He took his market and went to Vermont.
He went to a different market because he moved, but he is still selling his cast iron and restoring those beautiful pans, because you know, it's I think those pans, the old stuff, was cast from iron ore as opposed to recycled, and they're just a different type of metal.
Yeah.
And the way they cook is so much different. And if you have never owned an original Griswold, you don't know what it's like to cook in a cast iron pan.
Right, that's true. So he has taken it. Well, we do have booths. Some of these booths have been around for a long time. I think part of the dynamic this summer is that there are a lot of people who are unable to make a decision. You know, when things just become too much up in the air, it's slower and slower and slower to decide. But we also do have Woodstock is all new, you know? And we have this tradition, and it's going on.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about the market too, which is kind of unique to any flea market I ever did, once you're out there 3, 4, 5 years, whatever, we almost become like family.
We are. This
Yeah.
is what we all love about this market.
And
it's
we
very
still get
different.
together in the winter time, you know, well, you know, John Mower started it with his, you know, cabin fever party. And there was one year where he couldn't do, I think it was the pandemic, he couldn't do it. And when things opened up again, we were just like, let's just all get together. So even though he has continued to do those parties, we still get together
Do our
once
own
a
little
month,
thing.
and you know, because we concentrated to those of us who are in our little area.
And it's a trusting group, you know,
Oh yeah,
which is really nice.
yeah. You know, if one of us needs to take a break or run somewhere,
Sure.
you know, we entrust each other to keep an eye out, because you know, thievery is very real.
And we share events and things that are going on in our lives with
Yeah, not
each
just
other.
flea
Even
market
off
stuff.
season,
Yeah.
like Gary, all of a
Yeah.
sudden he would text like at night, like after midnight.
I know I
And
can
then-
text over like 2 o'clock in the morning and she's probably up throwing something in the kiln.
And I
Yeah,
I usually work at that time, so we keep texting
Yeah.
to each other.
But even
telling
if there's
what's-
like an issue on the field, every so often you have a weird thing going on. We all have each other's back in that regard too,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like, you know, no, don't mess with Sue, or don't mess with Olga, or don't mess. 'cause,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, not only us, there is a larger group
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, but especially though, because you don't get away from your booth very often, so you bond the most with the people that are in the immediate area. And, like last year, I had, a gentleman that just attached to me, and he was getting kind of weird. And there was one night in particular, and Gary, he hung around to make sure that things didn't get crazy with him.
Yeah.
And we can depend on each other like that.
There's another thing that I don't know, maybe you guys think about it. We can talk about it and see if you do. I am amazed at how beautiful the grounds of the flea market are.
Yeah. Well, in some ways, a lot of us have contributed to that. I mean, the Mowers are definitely, they love their gardens and their flowers. And, one thing we've done for them over the years is if there's an event or a special occasion for them, we will gift them flowers to put in the gardens around, or in the front especially. And, we've always been very proud of how well they upkeep the property and the pride they put into it, because it is something they are very proud of, and it's part of their family history. And we recognize that this isn't just a place for people to set up. This is a place that's very much in their heart.
It's part of the community and has been for a long time.
Mhm.
But when you go into those grounds, the trees are in excellent condition.
Mhm.
That doesn't happen by itself.
No.
That takes time and skill and money. I mean, and there are a lot of those trees there.
Yeah, I know John Mower fought for that ash before the ash borer took it. When all those invasive bugs killed all the ash trees. He probably had one of the last standing ashes because he did fight for that tree.
And that can get to be very, very expensive.
Yeah, but it unfortunately it was a losing battle, and it had to be removed, and I'm sure it was not something they were happy of having to do.
Well, and he keeps the ground. I am amazed. He'll say, call in the morning at 6 o'clock and we'll let you know whether it opens. And part of whether or not the market opens is determined by how muddy. We have to put our vehicles out there. And if it's too muddy, we can't open.
Yeah.
And he's very, very, I'm sure he's out there in the night.
We arrived there early in the morning and he's already raking.
Yes.
Yes.
And it is the closest thing to a park that we have,
Yes.
and people are sometimes not aware of that, and he keeps it so clean throughout the day.
Oh yeah, I mean, deer love to frequent it, and I think the first thing he does is he gets out there with the shovel and he cleans up after the deer.
Yes, and he's happy to do it.
Yeah.
So it's quite it is a community product, and it is a community project.
Yeah.
So the product is this park, but it's also the project.
Yeah.
And we are very fortunate to have that. And
Yes.
doesn't Janine have a couple of books on her table that are about the
Oh,
the
yeah,
park
she's an
Yeah,
amazing
how they grew, how
author.
it was John's
Yeah.
family home originally back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and how it became a flea market and the whole story of the whole.
Yeah, so that's that for the people who do not know, because there are people who don't know.
Yeah,
you know.
and they did put those plaques on the, there's a couple of plaques on the property which gives like a history of this land and what it means to the Mower family.
Yes, I have to confess that several years ago, before they put the plaques under the little clump of trees there, that is where I had visions. I was going to sit there with a little table and read tarot. And I showed up one day, and there the plaques were. So, it's
So
like,
much for that idea.
right. And that's just how it goes, But they really work so hard. And as people with booths, you work on these things all the time. And we get to know our clients as if they are part of a family.
Well, I always say we don't make customers, we make friends, because you get to know the people, and you do meet the most interesting people in Woodstock, people traveling from all over the world to visit this place. And, you just meet the most fascinating people. And that's part of why we love what we do.
We learn a lot. Like every time I come to flea market, I learn something either from my customers or from the vendors.
Yeah.
There's always something to it. You never just go home empty. Even if you did not make any money, you learn something new.
Yeah.
And sometimes you meet famous people, and I think being in Woodstock, I think they feel safe to talk, because you're not going to go, oh my God, it's whoever happens to be. They feel safe to talk. And, there was actually a woman that came through last week, actually was a massage therapist and yoga teacher for a pretty famous musician. I'm not going to name the musician, but was looking at some stuff and just out of the blue started talking about working with this musician who we would all know if I said who it was, but I'm not going to say who it was. But it's like, I think they feel safe to share those stories.
Well, there are enough creative people where they don't feel like there's something to be gawked at, and then there's not a plethora of them, so they don't feel like they rule the joint either.
Yeah.
But I do. Our community has definitely shifted, and I think that shift is reflected in our products.
Sometimes, yes. Yeah.
It has to be, because the people are different.
Yeah.
The new people coming through.
We have to adjust.
Yeah. The only thing in life that's guaranteed is change.
Right.
And you have to change with the times if you're going to survive in business, because at the end of the day, this is a business for us. And a lot of, people don't understand that just because we don't have a brick and mortar, place where we set up, that we're under tents and that we're a mobile boutique or store. If anything, what we do is more flexible than brick and mortar. But the same amount of effort is put in regards to inventory, accounting. We pay our sales taxes, we pay our income taxes. So the business end of it is really the same. It's just we're mobile.
Well, and what percentage of the people who have booths in the flea market do you think also have websites?
It depends if they're an artist or just the person who's selling antiques. I don't necessarily know if some of the people who sell antiques would have a website just based on the turnover of the product and, buying
Although they
large...
may be on eBay.
Yeah, eBay. They would have eBay. But they would approach the internet differently than we would. Like
But
I
they're
have
there.
a website. Yeah.
they're there.
Yeah.
You know, it's the flea market, but we also have this computer. It is, the word to use is foundation. It is a foundation for what we do.
Yes.
I believe. I mean,
can say that a lot of my internet sales have begun at the market, where someone came to the market from out of town, tried my products, but obviously you can't, if you live far away, you cannot go to the market every weekend, so they became internet customers. And sometimes, you know, several times this year I've had people tell me, oh yeah, I'm so-and-so, we filled my orders. You know, I've been ordering on the internet. And then you connect the face to the name. And you can tell by sometimes the zip codes that, yeah, they probably were introduced to you by the market and shifted to the internet because of, you know, how far away they are.
right, perquinquity.
Distance.
Law of perquinquity. You know, I have my products, but I also have a blog and I have a website. And the people either get them there or they go home and they get them or whatever, but it is part of our stalls. It's part of them. And you don't have a website, but you have eBay.
I have eBay.
I think you have the hugest website.
Oh, as far as the eBay stuff?
Yes.
But that's more, that goes back to the depression glass and the antiques that I used to do. I don't have a lot of my, although in the wintertime I do throw some of the art stuff onto eBay. So I'm kind of covering two worlds. Still the old antique stuff.
But you know, I don't think anymore that we are covering two worlds. I think anymore in 2025, there is the booth, there is the tent top, and there is the website. Whether it be eBay or Etsy or Spotify or whatever,
Yeah.
we still, you know, you get traction a lot of times through people coming by and seeing your product and looking at it and being impressed.
Yes, definitely.
Isn't that how you find out first during the summer
Yeah.
that something is either going up or down or sideways or whatever?
Through internet sales?
Yeah. Well, you find out first as they comment, as they stand there at your booth, and then it responds through the internet.
It depends on most of what we offer on the internet are the home aromas, the incense and oils, and they are a consistent seller. There's usually a little bit of a drop in internet sales in the summer because then people actually do want to still buy in person. And I have several customers that come out once a year just to smell everything, and they will buy a bulk quantity of incense and oils. But then that runs out, and then I see their name, you know, in the winter time coming to the internet. So I see more sales in the winter on the internet than I do in the summer because people still want to touch and feel and look at it as opposed to just doing it through pictures.
When you send them out, where do they go in terms of, do they go to Canada? Do they go to California? Do they go to Australia? Do they go?
Internet or international shipping is expensive.
Tell me about it.
So typically, we don't get a lot of international customers. And the last time I shipped something internationally, it was through Argentina, and it came back to me 6 months later.
You're lucky you got it back.
Yeah, but it was like covered in a million stickers, and it was like, okay, I guess didn't make it through customs.
Right. No, it's very true, but it's still, there is this. This is it. It's the booth. But then there is also the website. And yes, it costs $20, $22 extra to send a book to Canada.
Yeah.
And to anywhere. I mean, you just throw in $22 extra.
I have wholesalers who are sending me 50-pound boxes from China. Free shipping.
Wow.
I could not send it back to them the same way.
There is no refund. There is no return.
Yeah. It would cost so much more for me to send it to them than it does for them to send it to us. And I guess that is a little bit of a trade problem. But I do find that most of my internet customers are people who have either come here on vacation from, maybe California or Florida, but most of them down like Westchester, New York City, Northern Jersey. That's where a lot of
So
my
you do
internet
feel it's regional?
Yeah, a big portion of it is regional in the sense that they just can't stop over and pick some up because I'm a town over. I'm counties away. So they're not going to drive 2-3 hours just for incense. They're going to get on the website and buy it there.
Right. What you do depression glass. Have you ever brought that depression glass
To the market?
Yeah.
When I first started coming up here, I did. And some of it sold, but then it started to die out. So I started mixing in the peace signs and the other. I was doing tile at the time. And little by little, the artisan and artwork overtook the antiques. So I just dropped bringing the antiques up. It just didn't make economical sense to bring the antiques anymore when I was doing better with this.
Well, and I also think that when you have something like depression glass and a person is driving back to wherever, it's breakable. And it's just much easier to just let you ship it, than pick it up.
Yeah. Can I tell a quick Olga story since we got Olga here?
Yes, we do. We need to have all the Olga stories we
Yes.
can. Oh,
It's good.
it's a good story.
It's a good story.
Yes.
What story?
When did you go back to Russia? Was it 2 years ago now?
Yeah. No, it actually it was last summer,
Okay,
last
so
August,
yeah.
I think. Oh yeah.
So she's so nervous to be here today, but she did something that was really brave and it meant a lot to me. She took 2 of my peace signs back to Russia at the height of the war and took them into Russia to give to her friends in her luggage, under clothes or however she got them in, through customs. And then her artist friend that she gave one to sat and did a sketch for me, and she brought that back out of Russia to give to me. So my artwork is international into Russia, thanks to this lady sitting right here. And it means a lot
And
to
they
me.
loved it. They were.
But talk about guts. She's nervous. How gutsy is that to take it into Russia at the height of the Ukraine war going on?
That wasn't the worst thing I was bringing with me.
Well, that's okay because we had all gotten together and we were going to be the rescue team and we were going to go in and rescue Olga if she got arrested for Gary's peace signs. Of course, we all would have ended up in Russian jail, but we would have tried.
Well, the peace signs are very important because I think peace is very important to Woodstock. As a symbol,
Yes.
that is an extremely important thing. And I think having them and selling them in the flea market is even more important.
Yeah, but how controversial is that to sneak them into Russia when Russia's at war?
Listen, I think it's controversial to take them anywhere. Now, it's really, it's a challenge anywhere. I do, have you ever do people come in and buy 1 of these or 4 of these? How do they buy them?
Some people buy just one, some people buy whole set.
They buy a whole set of them.
Yeah. And then return and buy more.
That's wonderful.
And the same thing, then they contact me during winter and ask for more.
So they do keep around, they do keep with you for all year round.
Yes, some customers, yes.
I think that is truly typical of the flea market. I think the customers do connect with us.
Yes.
I know that they connect with me, and I know now I'm in a different area.
Yes.
But I do know that in the booths around me, the customers do connect, and they feel a kinship with the flea market.
And, even on weekends where if Gary's not there or Olga's not there or I'm not there, we get asked, where's so-and-so? All the time.
People ask.
Yeah. It's like, we dare not leave the market for a weekend.
There are still people coming and asking about Jeff.
Yes.
Who left a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The person who sold those cast iron pans.
Oh, they're going to be coming.
People are still asking
And John
about
Sharon,
them.
who did the cigar boxes.
Yes,
I had
they
somebody
asked
this
about
summer,
him.
whatever happened to John that did the cigar boxes, and unfortunately I had to tell him that he had passed away. And
Yeah.
Well, it does happen. So what do you think, we're down to 5 minutes, which means that it is time to start telling people a few things about the products that we make. And I would like to start with, is it possible for you, can you talk a little bit about these necklaces?
I make all the parts of the necklace, most of the parts of my necklaces. I sometimes add some details like this one, but all the beads are made by me, and some of them I also make out of shards of the broken bowls when my bowls don't make it in the kiln or even to the kiln. I just use them and drill them and make either buttons or necklaces, and yeah, that's about it, I think.
And now, can you talk about these stones that you brought this evening? You have a lot of those.
I have a lot. It's how I hoard without actually hoarding. You see one sells and I get to buy more. So, like for example, this skull is, it is actually a calcite crystal cluster on this side. And there's black tourmaline mixed in. And then there's pyrite.
Oh my goodness, I did not realize
yes.
that.
So there's pyrite crystals here and here. And then there's quartz growing in this pocket here. So we have 3 different minerals in this. And
where did that come from?
that was hand carved in China.
In China.
Yeah.
So you're merchandising a lot of your things from China.
Though when it comes to carved products, pretty much most of it comes from China or India. I like the Chinese artists better. I mean, this is too soft of a material to have gone through a machine. So that has absolutely had to have been, I know it was hand carved without being told. And, but then I have U.S. wholesalers that bring in material, raw specimens like this apophyllite with stilbite. They bring it in from all over the world. So it depends on what it is and how it comes back to you. And this is a phantom. It's hard not to keep some of them. But yeah, it depends on what it is. But a lot of anything you find that's cut or carved is going directly to China. They bring in the stone in basically boulders, and then they cut them down into different shapes. And as I've learned the hard way, they will cut anything. I mean, any shape. I had somebody try to sell me stone toilets. They're about that big, like maybe 2 inches high, and they were toilets. And I was like, no, I don't need these. No one who's coming into my booth needs these. Why did you do this?
Well, if you did not have one and you needed one and you had an altar, that would work. That would work. Absolutely, yes. And what about, can you talk a little bit about your booth?
I do peace signs.
You do peace signs. Well, that's a wonderful
You
thing.
also sell iron.
Yes, cast iron and.
What motivated you to do the iron?
It's sold.
It's sold.
And I don't make the iron. My iron I just get from wholesalers. But it was popular. It was a popular thing, so.
And you figured
you gotta
out,
make
uh-oh, we're down, we're through.
We're done with
Listen,
no minutes.
Thank you very much, Ellen. We understand, and we really appreciate you doing this evening.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.